Coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
I'm not chasing the algorithm, right? I'm not trying to get all these impressions and likes and things that like I can't act on anyways. And we can't control it. And I don't know about you, but as entrepreneurs, I feel like most of us love to be in control, right? And so instead focus on the things you can control, which is increasing the quality of conversations you're having, right?
Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode.
Burnout doesn't just exhaust you, it silently erodes your most important relationships. Aurora Method Coaching helps high-achieving women uncover the root beliefs driving their relationship conflicts and burnout and move from emotional reactivity to calm, clarity, and confidence. Ready to restore connection? Book your free consultation at meetwithtracy.coach. Hi, Natasha. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Marta. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm so excited to bring your brilliance to my audience because I don't think we've ever covered this topic specifically on the show. So it was about time because my entrepreneurs need your help. So why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
Thank you. I'm excited to talk about this. I am Natasha Walstra. I am the founder of Nearpoint Strategies, as well as the Relationship Growth Method, which is the community cohort I launched in the fall. And I help business owners get on LinkedIn to get off of LinkedIn and build real relationships that turn into real business opportunities. So basically LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that tagline. Explain the tagline because it's huge.
Sure. Yes, it's funny because I actually said it for the first time like 2.5 years ago before I really understood like what I was saying almost. But my whole point ever since I got on LinkedIn was to get off of LinkedIn and build relationships. Like I'm not on there to become a content creator or an influencer. I'm there to make money initially. That's how it all started. But really, I do that through relationships, right? And so I'm trying to connect with people and actually have conversations, right? Like that's the metric I follow is the quality of conversations I'm having.
Absolutely. That's so cool. And I do want to talk about how you coach, what you teach, all the things, because the whole piece of you don't have to be an influencer. I know you talk about that a lot. But before that, I like a good backstory. I want to know how LinkedIn as a focus came to be. So tell us, go back in time for a little bit.
Sure, of course. So yeah, I never set out to build a personal brand. I actually didn't even know what that was until a few years ago, but I had landed a position as an SDR, which is a sales development representative, where I had to cold call, smile and dial 100 dials a day. And it was brutal. I was also really bad at it. I'm an introvert, used to be super shy as well. So you can imagine like quite literally the worst position for me. But I'm also very competitive. So I'm like, how do I hit my numbers and beat the boys, but do it in a way that feels good and authentic and that doesn't lead to crying every day?
Yeah.
That's when I discovered using LinkedIn as a way to connect, network, and then warm call. And turns out people are much more receptive to that. So that was about 10 years ago. And I've just been living and breathing LinkedIn in a way that most people haven't been. Even from that next position, I landed a position where I was working in the 3D printing industry and so knew nothing about manufacturing. But here I was speaking to VPs of engineers and CTOs, and I'm like, why should they trust me, right? So I started to create content, and that's where the personal branding sort of started to show. I was like, oh, if I put content out there and have conversations, magic really happens, and people start to know me, and I like became known as the face of Carbon, that company, and on LinkedIn, and it was so cool to see how I did that, and it was unintentional, right? I had no idea what I was doing, but it was just so powerful, and I really, yeah, I kind of ran with it from there.
That's so exciting. Okay, so running with it from there, what was the turning point of, you know what, I'm going to start a business now? How did that
How did
happen?
that happen? Yeah, right. So a couple of twists and turns. So from there, a former manager, a mentor of mine, joined Forbes Books as CRO, and she brought me on as VP of Sales. And so that was my first time intentionally in this world of thought leadership, personal branding, and business development. Totally drank the Kool-Aid. It's actually what brought me from California to South Carolina, where I am now. And I still think book publishing is an incredible thing to do. No doubt. I'm actually working on my book right now. But doing it this way, a lot of our authors, most of them had spent their careers building their businesses and they had very little digital footprint. And so when they launched their book, it was crickets.
Yeah.
And Forbes Books, it's a hybrid publisher, so there's a higher cost to to pay to work with them. And it just became one of those things where it just felt kind of wrong to do this. Like I was like, the book is just one piece to a bigger mission, message, or movement, right? And so I left and wanted to find a way to better serve those authors. And that's pretty much what brings me to today. I had a small stint at an agency and it was kind of big picture thought leadership strategy. But someone came up to me and was like, can I just work with you on the LinkedIn stuff? And I'm like, yeah. Put together an offer. And it was just around the time that I joined Entrepreneurs, the community we're part of. And they were interested in LinkedIn and signed with me. And I never looked back. And that's about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. I love that. That was already, that's the best, right? When people see your skill and your zone of genius and they're like, can you just help me? And you're like, all right, let me come up with an offer real quick.
I remember
I know what I'm doing.
exactly. Yeah, I got to find that offer doc because it was so bad. But it's the foundation of my program today. I mean, I was up, it was 3 a.m. I was part-time living in this other city and I was so like tiny little apartment I hated. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna work on this offer doc, And I did, and then the next day she signed it. It was so crazy, and yeah, and that is the foundation of what I have today. Obviously, it's evolved quite a bit, but
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that's so cool. I love the evolution stories because we don't start fully know with what we have right now or what we know, but that's the beginning steps, right? So that's super exciting. Let's talk about Entreprenista real quick because you mentioned that, and I want to also commend you on your success because you're a big inspiration in terms of LinkedIn, but also in terms of Entreprenista. And when I joined, you kept seeing your face everywhere, and so I'd love to hear more about your experience with the community. I've had Stephanie, who's one of the founders, here on the podcast, share about the community. I've enjoyed the community. It's been great for my business too. So tell us more about running into that and growing in there, all the things.
sure. Yeah, I'm so grateful to Entreprenista because I really wouldn't. I'm sure I'd have a business, but not to the extent that it is now. And honestly, when I joined, it was for kind of another reason. And I had never really been surrounded by other female founders and entrepreneurs. And so seeing that, I was like, wait, why am I working for these idiots? I could totally do this on my own, And I was in a breakout session with the person who happened to be in the town I was living in part-time. And that's how we ended up meeting for dinner that night. I mean, it was so crazy. So very grateful to Entreprenista. And it's a community, a lot of people could use my services. So, my first year in there, because I was really figuring out what I'm doing, I'm all about giving basically. And I didn't necessarily, this wasn't my intentional and strategy. I was just like, let me put this out there and see how this lands. And it was with no ulterior motive. So I did tons of workshops with people. I probably did like 75 that year or something, but I just was like, it was my way to meet new people, share what I was up to, learn about them as well. But then they kind of became my word of mouth and referrals. And obviously some became clients as well. But that was sort of my strategy, even though I didn't know I was doing that, but it was a really great way to do it. And I love the community so much.
Yeah.
My whole thing with Entreprenista too, though, is I'm not particularly active in the community hub itself, but I bring people onto LinkedIn where I am active and I nurture those relationships there. So I think that combination of how I use Entreprenista and how I do LinkedIn works really well to actually, deepen those relationships.
Yes, absolutely. And I think Entreprenista has been the driving factor for me to leverage LinkedIn more. Because for the longest time, I built my business on Facebook. Now Facebook is more outdated than I don't even know what. And I hate it. I'm just, there because I'm still part of some groups and things like that. But it was more like Instagram, LinkedIn, not so much. And with Entreprenista, that's exactly what you described is you connect with the people from the group on LinkedIn, and that's how you build those relationships because they get to see your content and all of that. So for anyone listening, if you haven't checked out Entreprenista, we both highly recommend it. As a female founder, it's a great community. I love that. Okay, let's talk about the whole influencer piece because I do want you to speak to that because a lot of people struggle with social media at large, right? And being like, I hate posting. I don't know what to talk about. I don't want it to consume my life. I just want people to come to me and buy my services. So tell us more.
Yeah, totally. This came about because I think it's 2 years ago now. One of the top personal branding creators on LinkedIn was telling her audience that they need to spend 2 hours a day commenting. And I'm like, who in their right mind's got 2 hours a day to comment? And I realized a content creator does, an influencer, right? That is literally their business where they're creating content and they have an audience and that is their business. most of the people I work with and most of us in your audience as well and entrepreneurs, so like we're business owners leveraging content to grow our businesses.
Right.
And it's a very different approach, right? We're not dependent on the audience necessarily, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's some gray areas there. And like, let's be real, at the end of the day, I guess technically I am a content creator,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
we're all creators, let's be real. But I'm not chasing the algorithm, right? I'm not trying to get all these impressions and likes and things that like I can't act on anyways.
Right.
And we can't control it. And I don't know about you, but as entrepreneurs, I feel like most of us love to be in control, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
and
Mhm.
so instead focus on the things you can control, which is increasing the quality of conversations you're having, right? And so that means yes, putting content out there, but talking about like literally what you're doing every single day. Look at your calendar. Like that is the biggest hack I can give to anybody. It's just like talk about the thing that you do. So you prove you do what you say you do and people can see
Yes.
that and then want to continue to like work with you or trust you more. It's like all these different things you're doing, it just leaves those trust deposits and it's just really powerful. And so it's when you reframe it as not trying to become a content creator, but actually building relationships, it gives you more purpose of being on there.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, that's a huge shift. And also in the definition of content creator, because you're right, we are, but that's not the business. We're leveraging it for the business, and it's different from a YouTuber, for example. That's their entire life is putting stuff out and getting the streams and getting the comments and whatever it is, sponsorships and affiliate marketing that they do out there. But that's also exhausting, and that's not what we want. We want to
No.
serve our clients. So it's a different focus, and it's easy to get on the track. Also, thank you for talking about the views and impressions, because I've been a part of so many like engagement pods and other things like that where people are like, oh my gosh, my views are up 1 million. And I'm like, I don't really care if my views are up 1 million and I'm not having conversations and
Right.
with
It
those
doesn't
people.
meaningless.
It doesn't do anything for me. So thank you for bringing that up, because there's still that stigma from, and I think from Instagram, right? Of like, my reels went viral, or TikTok. My TikTok went viral. Okay, what are you doing with that? Right?
Yeah.
People don't know what to do with it because, again, they're not content creators. They're entrepreneurs, right? Business owners leveraging that. So that is huge. What are some other misconceptions or maybe tips that you can, since you like sharing value, like you said, of LinkedIn, that our listeners can be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I need to leverage this. I don't know, whatever comes to mind. Hey, let me ask you a question. Would you like to be my next guest on the Empowered Woman podcast? Do you have a story you'd like to share? Want more visibility for your business on a show ranked in the top 0.5% in the world? Well, then head on over to martasburke.com/podcast guest for more information.
A cautionary thing to say, and I actually this was my post today because really quick story. The last few weeks, my husband and I, we walk a lot, and we were walking, and this house started to like there's something very unsettling about it. And I finally realized what it was is that the plants that they just planted were fake plants, flowers. And it left me so unsettled. And it reminded me of the DM I got recently that was clearly AI written. And it was like too blue, too white, just like the flowers were. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things I think, like, yes, I use AI all the time, but what you're trying to do on LinkedIn is bring more of your essence to your presence on LinkedIn, right? Like when you think about going to a networking event, it's multidimensional. You can like read the room, feel the vibes, see who your people are basically, right? On LinkedIn, it's hard to do that because it's one dimensional, right? Where it's digital. And so what we're trying to do though is make that easier. So how can you bring more of you on there? And by overcompensating with AI, you're going to do the complete opposite and you're going to turn people away. Like you're going to make people feel unsettled. And that's what I think I'm seeing more of is this bad AI slop, right? DMs that are clearly AI written, or their VA or somebody else. And it's just like, that's not going to help you at all. And again, at the end of the day, it is a relationship building platform. And if you outsource that and you do things, try to shortcut it, people aren't going to want to engage with you.
They'll notice it for sure. Yeah, especially the longer we've been with AI now. I can't tell you how many posts I see a week that people are like, I'm going on a challenge where I don't use AI for 30 days in my content and see what difference it makes, because everyone's spotting it, right? And
Yeah.
it sounds so artificial. So tell us how exactly you work with clients. Tell us about the offers, but also the process of leading them to feel comfortable and be consistent and build those conversations and relationships.
Sure. I love that you asked that because there's 4 pillars, 3 tactical pillars to it. The first pillar is mindset and like the feels, the emotions, because, And that's the part we spend, I'd say, the majority of our time on, honestly, because it's hard to show up on LinkedIn. There's a reason why there's 1.3 billion people on LinkedIn, but only around 1.5% are creating any original content.
Ew.
That's crazy. That's
Wow.
very few people who are actually doing this. And it's because it's hard. Like it's hard to show up in this way. And I think, a big part of it too is we're used to more performative filters that we think we're supposed to be, but really you are just trying to be you, and we're not used to showing up that way. So having somebody to hold your hand and like support you on that, it's really powerful. So a big part of this, again, it's reframing how to think about LinkedIn. When you start to create content, when you get into the DMs, like how to do it in a way that feels good, because
Yeah.
if you don't feel good about it, it's going to be really hard to create something sustainable that you'll actually keep
Yes.
up with, right? So mindset's a big part of it, but then the three more tactical pillars, it's personal branding, content, and social selling. So on the personal branding front, your profile, getting it optimized, branding, messaging, all that's part of this. And why that's actually sort of where I become almost an agency where it's done for you. The messaging, obviously, co-creation, because I don't know the ins and outs of your brand, but the branding itself, the banner, feature sections, et cetera, I help with, because if you don't feel proud of your profile, also going to be very hard to do everything else. If you're not going to want to create content or have conversations because your profile doesn't represent who you are today. Maybe it's a buttoned up version of you or something, and it doesn't work. And so that's something that my company changed quite a bit actually after my first year, because people would get stuck on that part. I'm like, let me just do that part for you. You don't need to know how to do that. Yeah, so help with that. And then on the content front, I have a content framework that I teach them through and create a custom one for them. We use Claude as well to help with streamlining the process, but all about, again, amplifying your voice and using AI to help with that. We do recorded sessions for video content. So speaking to your expertise is really powerful. Even though video doesn't do as well on LinkedIn, it's a great way to connect with your audience in a way that you just can't via text. And like, I don't particularly like video, and most of my clients either don't like it or don't have time for it. And so this is a really great way to create these like podcast style video clips and make it feel more organic and easy to do. And so that's why I've kind of included that in with it. And then the third pillar of social selling, it's really, yeah, just getting into the, like what to do on the platform, best practices, but then what to do in the DMs, how to convert these conversations, because for me, it's all about, I'm permission-based selling. So I don't do any cold outreach. It's all about creating signals of intent and then acting on those signals. And so this part's really like, what are those signals and how do we act on it and do it in a way, again, that feels organic. So it's like, you don't even really feel like you're selling.
Yeah.
Of course, there's more parts to this. So with newsletter, lead magnets, like the whole funnel that we're building out here. And I like to think of it as almost like a relationship driven business development flywheel that we're building. LinkedIn is the primary focus, but like my newsletter is the most valuable thing I brought to my business last year. Right. And so I talk very much on that because it's just so powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Pieces to it. But I love that. I love that you, and with time and working with people, you figured out where are the pieces that they get stuck? What is the next thing that they need, right? So sounds like a very holistic program. So how can people find more information? Do you do like an initial call to chat and see if it's a fit?
Yeah, exactly. Initial call is the best. I have a one-on-one program as well as my cohort that launches every other month. And it really just depends also too if people prefer cohort versus one-on-one. But yeah, finding me on LinkedIn and connecting and booking a call is like the best way to go.
Okay, I love that. I'd love to hear, well, first I have two questions, not to overload you, but is there a specific like industry that you support with? Is it mostly women? And then any client stories that come to mind that you'd like to share, like transformations?
Sure. My cohort is it's exclusively for women. That wasn't necessarily what I set out to build, but it is what it is today. And I love that. It's amazing. And it is, it's not just about learning LinkedIn strategy. It is about building relationships and the collaborations and connections that are already happening within the community. Like that's what's so powerful about it. A transformation, actually, one of my clients in there, she had never really posted on LinkedIn. She's already now signed 4 people within the cohort community itself too, which I thought was so cool. I was like, that is amazing to see that, right? And then obviously what she's doing on LinkedIn, but like that's the big part of what I teach, is this bridging the offline to online world, right? Because if you just go on LinkedIn to try and find new people, you're going to go crazy. Like that's very cold.
Very cool.
So we want to build the system to warm them up. But in the meantime, like how are we bringing people into our world that there's already some established trust, like leveraging communities and such. So That's a big part of it. And I'm sorry, I forgot your second question.
I think that was it. Client story,
Oh,
right?
just
And who you help with. One thing that that I just remembered that I'd love for you to speak on, because I'm really big on creating content, networking virtually, but also in person. So also what you were saying, the whole cold thing. It's tough to just find random people and start conversations. It's easier when you're a part of a community like Entreprenista, or you network in person, all of that. And then the speaking piece, which is sort of networking because you're speaking, but you're also talking to people. And I saw an article that you wrote, and I think it was for Entreprenista, where you talked about how you leverage their big event that they do
Mhm.
really, but I think this applies so much to any kind of conference or networking event that people attend, which they should
Mhm.
be attending. But people don't know how to make the most out of those experiences because they don't do the pre-work, they don't do the during work, and they don't do the post-work. And that's exactly what that article of yours said. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that you put it all in that way, because that's exactly what I do. I'm like, I'm coming in, I
Yeah.
want to know people before I go in. I want to connect with them there, and then I need to do the follow up and connect with them afterwards. That's how it's not magic, right? We just show up and all of a sudden everyone
Yeah.
wants to talk to us. So speak to that, please, because that was awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So that's actually really how I ended up building my personal brand when I was in the manufacturing space. It was primarily because my first event I went to was 7 days long. I was absolutely terrified. Again, introvert here. I was like, I didn't want to go there feeling like a lost puppy. And so I did a bunch of research and I ended up stacking my calendar with meetings and bringing so much ROI from it that it was just amazing. And so I became the go-to person for all these events because I did such a great job of business development with it, basically. But it's the same idea as now a business owner. The conversation doesn't start or end at the event, right? And so how can you maximize the whole event, because it's a investment of time and of money typically, right? And so what can you do before, during, and afterwards to continue and deepen those relationships? And this works whether it's a 3-day event we just went to in Founders Weekend, or if it's a networking virtual, event with 30 other people. Like it's the same thing. Obviously, one, you might put a little bit more effort into it, but you can do this just as much, and it's so powerful. And if you ever doubt that there's ROI from personal branding, that's how you're going to find it, is through events.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and that's also what I tell my clients in terms of speaking. Like when I'm speaking somewhere, whether they give me the contact list of the people, the audience or not, whether it's virtual or in person, it doesn't matter to me because I'm going to do the job of connecting with people in the room and then getting their information. Sometimes even be like, oh, are you on LinkedIn? And be like pulling our phones out and connecting right then and there, or finding them afterwards. Like you don't just wait for people to be like, oh, you were the speaker, so I'm going to go find you and connect with you. It's like I'm being proactive and connecting with the people in the audience. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate that, because I don't know if people are intimidated or they don't think about that at all. I think it's both, honestly.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that because one other, going back to the question you asked earlier about like a success story. So a client of mine, it's the same idea, like where people go onto LinkedIn not realizing that you also have a network of people already that know, like, and trust you, right? Like it doesn't occur to them. Like you go in there thinking that you need to be finding new people. You got this list of your ICP or whatever it is. And so with this client of mine, he had this book launching in 3 months, and he was trying to build this whole thing on LinkedIn. I'm like, 3 months, but I was like, where do you come from? Like, tell me your background more, right? And so he had this huge, robust network, and from Wharton's, McKinsey, private equity, all this stuff. And I was like, we need to just reinvigorate your network. Like, let's talk to them. You know what I mean? And that he ended up becoming an international bestseller overnight in like 5 different categories. And LinkedIn was a part of it, a huge part of it. But it's like actually bringing and bridging that gap and paying attention to like who's already in your network.
Yes, absolutely. That's why we need mentors and people that know of these things that we don't think of. And that's why people need to connect with you. Well, before I have you tell us how people can find you, which you are a superstar on LinkedIn, so that won't be hard to find, but also your website and all the things. I like asking all of my guests my $1 million question. Are you ready?
Oh, let's hear it.
Natasha, what is an empowered woman to you?
Ooh, that's a really good question. It's confident and calm.
Mm, I
I
like
don't know
that.
if that's totally it, but I just like I feel like that's where like if I felt confident and calm, that would be winning for me.
That's good. I like that. That's simple.
Yeah.
Short and sweet. That's good. I love that. And I always say, whenever people say this description, it's
usually who they are. So you've just described yourself. Empowered woman.
Oh, I love that. That's really good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, tell us how people can find you. Give us all the deets. Obviously, it's going to be in the show notes too.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. So LinkedIn, of course, Natasha Walstra. You can find me on my website, nearpointstrategies.com/join waitlist if you want to find out more about the cohort, but otherwise the rest is on there. And yeah, LinkedIn is really just the best way to go.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, and thank you for all the work that you're doing out there in helping people build real relationships.
Oh, I appreciate you having me, Marta. This is so much fun.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.